Good evening. I will read the last part of the first Philippic. Okay, so yesterday we had started the Philippics by Demosthenes. Okay, we call him Demosthenes. Demosthenes wrote several oratory speeches, I guess we could call them, and that is one of the most famous classical pieces of all time that has been passed down to us through the monks in the monastery, passing on this literature. It's been recognized as one of the top. And so we're going to stop. I guess if I can get through the entire Philippic, we're going to try that. We're going to start with, it's called Poru Apothesis, or Apodixis, yeah. Poru Apodixis, a memorandum of ways and means is read. And so here we will begin. This is the scheme, Athenians, which my colleagues and I have been able to contrive. Amenimis o Andres Athenei, the nemeth evrin taft esteem. When you give your votes, you will pass these proposals if you approve them, because your object is to fight Philip, not only with decrees and dispatches, but with deeds also. Epidon, the epihirotonita tas gnomas, on imin areski, hirotonisata, inami mono psiphismatsi ketes epistoles Filippo, Allah en. But you would, I think, O men of Athens, form a better idea of the war and of the total force required if you considered the geography of the country you are attacking, and if you reflected that the winds and seasons enable Philip to gain most of his successes by forestalling us. He waits for the Etesian winds or for the winter and attacks at a time when we could not possibly reach the seat of war. Bearing this in mind, we must rely not on occasional levies, or we shall be too late for everything, but on a regular standing army. You have the advantage of winter bases for your troops in Lemnos, Thasos, Skiathos, and the neighboring islands, where are to be found harbors, provisions, and everything that an army needs. And during the season of the year, when it is easy to stand close inshore, and the winds are steady, your force though kita the me polyveltion on peritu polis tis paraskevis vulevs the iton topon o Andres Athenei tis choras pro and themithita ke logises oti tis pneumasi ke tes oras to etus tapola pro lomvanom the apratita Philippos ke philaxas tus etisias eton hemon epihiri nik on emis me the emeth kist af ekesta the tenin taft and themumenus me voithias polami isteriumen gar apondon Allah paraskevi sinahi ke dinami ibarchi the imin himathio men Christa ti dinami limno. ke thaso, ke skiatho, ke tes in tuto totopo nisis. En es ke limenes, ke citos, ke acri stratevmati ponth eporci teen the oron tu etus. Ota ke pros ti gi genesta radion ke to ton prevmaton asphales. Pros afti tihura ke pros tis ton emborion stomasi radios est. How and when this force is to be employed will be a matter for your duly appointed commander to determine according to the circumstances. But what it is your task to provide, that I have put down in my resolution. If, men of Athens, you first provide the funds which I name, and then equip the whole force complete, men, ships, and cavalry, binding them legally to serve for the duration of the war, and if you make yourselves the stewards and administrators of the funds, look to your general for an account of his operations. Then you will no longer be forever debating the same question and never making any progress. More than that, O men of Athens, you will be depriving Philip of his principal source of revenue. Amen un crisete ke poteti dinami para ton keron o tuton kyrios katastas if imon vulevsete. Signomi. Vulevsete. The iparxe, the parimon, tavdestin ago gegrafe. An taft o andres Athenei, porisita ta crimata proton allego, ita ke tala paraske vasandas, tu stratiotas, tas triiris, tus ipeas, and ali pasantin dinamin, nomi cataclisit epi topolemo menin. Ton men crimaton afti ta mie, ke poriste gignomeni, ton the proxeos poratu strati gu, ton logon zitundes, pavses, ai peri ton of ton vu lavomeni, ke pleo nu then piundes, ke eti prostuto proton, meno andras Athenei, ton megiston, ton akinu poron, aferisista. What is that? For the war against you, he makes your allies pay by raiding their seaborne commerce. Is there any further advantage? Yes, you will be out of reach of injury yourselves. Your past experience will not be repeated when he threw a force into Lemnos and Ebros and carried your citizens away captive, when he seized the shipping at Gerasteus and levied untold sums, or to crown all, when he landed at Marathon and bore away from our land the sacred trireme, while you are still powerless to prevent these insults or to send your expeditions at the appointed times. And yet, O men of Athens, how do you account for the fact that the Pan-Atheniac festival and the Dionysia are always held at the right date, whether experts or laymen are chosen by lot to manage them, that larger sums are lavished upon them than upon any one of your expeditions, that they are celebrated with bigger crowds and greater splendor than anything else of the kind in the world. Whereas your expeditions invariably arrive too late, whether at Methone or at Pagasae or at Potidae. The explanation is that the festivals, everything is ordered by, that at the festivals, everything is ordered by statute. Every man among you knows long beforehand who of his tribe is to provide the chorus and who to equip the gymnasium, what he is to receive, when and from whom he is to receive it, and what he is to do. Nothing here is left to chance. Nothing is undermined. But in what pertains to war and its equipment, everything is ill-arranged, ill-managed, ill-defined. Esti thautos tis. Apotoni meteron, imin polemisimachon, agon kiferon tus pleondas tin thalaton. Epita ti prostuto, tu paskin avti kakos exogenesis the. Uk osper ton porl thon de chronon islimnon, ke imbron, embalon, ech malotus politas imaterus, ocet echon, prosto geresto, ta plia silvon, a methita, cremat exelixa. Ta telefte, is marathon apevi, ketin uran, apotis horas, ocet, echon tri iri. Imista uta tafta venasta, coliin ut istus chronus, us on prothista, voithin. Kati tin vipo to andros Athenei, nomisita tin menton panathineon eratin, ketin ton Dionysion ai, tu kathikondos chronu gignesta. Ante thini lachosin, ante theota, e tuton ekateron, epilumini, is a tosaft, analisketa cremata, os uthe is anaton apostolon, ke tu tosuton oklon, ke paraskavin osin, uk ithi ti ton apondon echi, tus the apostolus pandas imin isterizin ton hieron, ton is methonin, ton is pagasas, ton is potisean, oti ekina men apodinomu tetakte, ke pro ethen ekastos imon ekpolu tis horigos e gymnasiarchos tis philis. Pota ke para tu ke ti lavonda ti dhipiin uthen on exetaston uthe aoriston and tutis emelita en the tis peritu polemu ke tituto paraskevi atakta a the orthota a oristopenda. Consequently, we wait till we have heard some piece of news, and then we appoint our shipmasters and arrange suits for exchange of property, and go into committee of ways and means. And next we resolve that the fleet shall be manned by resident aliens and freedmen, then again by citizens, then by substitutes, then while we thus delay, the object of our cruise is always lost, already lost. Thus, the time for action is wasted in preparation, but the opportunities of fortune wait not for our dilatoriness and reluctance. The forces which we fancied would serve us as a stopgap proven capable when the crucial moment arrives. Meanwhile, Philip has the effrontery to send such letters as these to the Euboeans. Tigaroon, akikoamenti ke triirakus kathistamen ke tutis andidosis pi umatha ke perichrimaton porus kapumen ke metatafta embenin tus meticus edoxa ke tus corisicundas it avtus Pauline it andam bivazin it and osotafta melita pro apolola to f o on ek pleomen ton gar to pratin chronon is to parskevazasta analiskamen either ton pragmaton menusi keri tin imiteron vra vitita ke ironian as the ton metaxichronon dinamis iomatha imin iparchin then iusa pien up of ton cheron exelecconda the east tooth ivreos elilithan osta epistelin voevsin ethi tiaftas epistolas. And that is where it breaks off into a letter of Philip's is read. And this letter is going to carry us off it's going to carry us off for a good long ways. Back to English. Most of what has been read, Athenians, is unfortunately true, possibly, however, not pleasant to listen to. Touton o andras Athenei, ton agnagignoskomenon alithi men esti tapolon. Os uk evi, u min ala isos uk the akui. But if all that a speaker passes over to avoid giving offense is passed over by the course of events also, then blandioloquence is justified. But if smooth words out of season prove a curse in practice, then it is our disgrace if we hoodwink ourselves, if we shelve whatever is irksome, and so miss the time for action. If we fail to learn the lesson that to manage a war properly, you must not follow the trend of events, but must forestall them, and that just as an army looks to its general for guidance, so statesmen must guide circumstances if they are to carry out their policy and not to be forced to follow at the heels of chance. Alimen os on tis ip v to logo. In amili pisi, keta pragmasta iper visita. The pros idoni, the migorin. Either eton logon haris. An mi prosecusa ergo zemia gignita, escronesti phenakizine evtus, keaponta ana volumenus an idise, adisceri pondon isterin tonergon, ke mi the tuto dinasta mathin, oti the tus orthos polemo chromenus uk akaluthin tis pragmasin. All of tus ambrosthen ina ton pragmaton ke ton of ton tropon osperton stratigmaton oxio si etisan ton stratagon igista uto ke ton pragmaton tus volumenus in an akinis thoki tafta pratite ke mita simband anakazonda theokin. But you, O men of Athens, possessing unsurpassed resources, fleet, infantry, cavalry, revenues, have never to this very day employed them aright. And yet you carry on war with Philip, exactly as a barbarian boxes. The barbarian, when struck, always clutches the place. Hit him on the other side, and there go his hands. He neither knows nor cares how to parry a blow or how to watch his adversary. So you, if you hear of Philip in the Chersones, vote an expedition there. If at Thermopylae, you vote one there. If somewhere else, you still keep pace with him to and fro. You take your marching orders from him. You have never framed any plan of campaign for yourselves, never foreseen any event until you learn that something has happened or is happening. All this was once perhaps possible. Now things have come to a crisis, so that it is no longer in your power. It seems to me, O men of Athens, if some god out of very shame for the conduct of our city had inspired Philip with this activity. For if he did nothing more, but were willing to rest satisfied with what he has already captured and subdued, I believe some of you would be quite content with what must bring the deepest disgrace upon us and brand us as a nation of cowards. But by always attempting something new, always grasping at more power, he may possibly rouse even you if you have not utterly abandoned hope. Emis tho andres Athenai, pleistin dynamin abandonekudas, triiras oplitas, ipeas crematon, pros odon, tuton men, mekritis timroni meras, udeni popot is theon ti kekrista. Udhe the abolipita. Lipita. Then the polipita osper ivarvari picnevusin. Uto polamin Filippo. Kegarakinon o pligis. Ai tis pligis acata. Con eterosa pataxis. Ekis isin e hires provalasta the e vlepin en andion ut even ut etheli ke emis on en Heroniso pithiste Philippon. Ekiste voithin psiphiste eon en pilas ekisa eon aluthi pu Symbarathit anokato ke strategist ip ekinu. Vevulevsta the uthen of T simferon peritupolemu uthe proton primaton pro urata uthen prin on igegenimenon igignoskomenon T pithista tavta veisos proteron men anin. Nin the ep of teen iki, teen akmin, osta uketi echori. Though kita mith the ontis, o andras athinei, tis gignomenis, hypertis polios enomenos, teen philoprogmosinin, taftin Amvaline Filippo. Igor akon a catestrapte ke proilifen isihian achin a ethela. Ke mi then empraten eti apochrine eni simon on miloki ex on eskinin ke anadrian ke panda ta eskist o flicotes animen the mosia nin the epichiron aitini ke tu pli onos oregomenos isos on ekalese imas hypermi pandaposin ab egnokata. Personally, I am surprised that none of you, O men of Athens, is distressed and angry to find that at the beginning of the war, our aim was to punish Philip. But at the end, it is to escape injury at his hands. Oh, but surely it is the obvious that he will not stop unless someone stops him. And what is that we are to wait for? Do you fancy that all is well if you dispatch an unmanned fleet and the vague hope of some deliverer? Shall we not man the fleet ourselves? Shall we not take the field with at least a portion of native troops, even now, if never before? Shall we not sail against his territory? Where then are we to go and anchor? Someone has asked. The progress of the war, O men of Athens, will itself discover the weakest places in his front, if we make the effort. But if we sit here at home, listening to the abuse and mutual recriminations of the orders, there is not the slightest chance of our getting anything done that ought to be done. Wherever I believe we send out a force composed partly or wholly of our citizens, there the gods are gracious and fortune fights on our side. But wherever you send out a general with an empty decree and the mere aspirations of this platform, your needs are not served. Your enemies laugh you to scorn. Your allies stand in mortal fear of such an such an expeditionary force. It is impossible, utterly impossible, for one man ever to do all that you want done. He can only promise and assent and throw the blame on someone else. In consequence, our interests are ruined. For when your general leads wretched, ill-paid mercenaries and finds plenty of men here to lie to you about what he has done, while you pass decrees at random on the strength of these reports, what are you to expect? Thavmazo the goga. Me this imon meet anathemita meet orgizata oron o andros athenei tin menarchin to polemu geni meni periton timoresis the Philippon tin the teleftin usan Evi iper to me pathin kakos ipo Filippu. Allah min oti the ustisita, thelon, imitis colii, ita tut anamenumen, que triires kenas, que tas paratudinos elpidas on apostilita, pond akin iesta kalos, uk mv somatha, uk aximen of t meri ge tini stratioton, ikion nin ke ike mi proteron, uk epitiakinu plev somatha, p un pros or miumetha, irritotis, evrisita sathra, o andras athenei, ton akinu pragmaton, avtos o polemos, on epichiromen, on mendi kathometh iki, lithorumenon accusandas, ke etiomenon alilus ton legondon. Udhaputa udhen imin miganita ton theondon. Obi mengaron ime. Meros tis polios sin apostoli con mi passa ke to ton theon ev menes ke to tis tigis sin agonizata. Obi the on stratigon ke psifisma canon ke tas apotu vimatos elpidas ek pamsita then imin ton theondon gignita. Al men ek3 catagalosin the simaki tethnasi to thei tus tiutos apostolus signomi tiutus apostolus ugar esti en andra thenithina pota taft imin praxa panthosa vulasta iposgesta mendi kefisa keton thin etiasis the keton thin esti ta the pragmata signomi ta the pragmata ectuton apollo len otan gar igita men ostratigos athelion apo misthon xenon. Ida iper on akinos proxy pros imas psevdomeni radios enthada osi. Emis the ex on acousis otion tihita psi physista t the creep prostacon. How then is all this to be stopped? Post untaf deposita. As soon as you, O men of Athens, definitely appoint the same men as soldiers, and as eyewitnesses of the campaign, and on their return as jurymen at the audit of your generals. In this way, you will not merely learn about your affairs by hearsay, but you will be witnesses on the spot. So scandalous is our present system that every general is tried 2 or 3 times for his life in your courts. But not one of them dares to risk death in battle against the enemy. No, not once. They prefer the doom of a kidnapper or a pickpocket to a fitting death. For the malefactors are condemned to the gallows. Generals should die on the field of honor. Some of us spread the rumor that Philip is negotiating with the Lacedaemonians for the overthrow of the Thebes and the dissolution of the free states. Others that he has sent an embassy to the great king. Others that he is besieging towns in Illyria. In short, each of us circulates his own piece of fiction. Truly, O men of Athens, I do think that Philip is drunk with the magnitude of his achievements and dreams of further triumphs. When elated by his success, he finds that there is none to bar his way. But I cannot for a moment believe that he is deliberately acting in such a way that all the fools at Athens know what he is going to do next. For of all fools, the rumor mongers are the worst. But if putting rumors aside, we recognize that this man is our enemy, who has for years been robbing and insulting us, that wherever we once hoped to find help, we have found hindrance, that the future lies in our own hands, and if we refuse to fight now in Thrace, we shall perhaps be forced to fight here at home. If, I say, we recognize these facts, then we shall have done with idle words and shall come to a right decision. Our business is not to speculate on what the future may bring forth, but to be certain that it will bring disaster unless you face the facts and consent to do your duty. Posentaftapovsita. Otan emis o andras Athenai. Tus apo dixitas stratiotas ke martyras ton stratio guvenon ke dikastas iked elthondas ton and ton evthenon ostemiakuin mononimas ta imetrafton alake poronda soron. Nin the east tooth iki ta pragmata eskinis. Ostaton stratigon ekastos these ke trees trinita par imin parithanatu. Prostatus ecthrus udis. Udapax of ton agonisista parithanatu tolma. Alaton Andra pothistone, ke lo pothitone, thanaton malone, erunde tu pros ikondos. Kakurgu mengar asti krithent apothenin stratigu the machomenon tis polemies. Imon the men periondas metallacadamonion festi Philippon pratin tin thiveon catalysin ketas politias the aspon. Either os presvis pepomphen os Vasilea, Eve en Illyris Polemis Tichizi. Either logus Platondas Ekastos Periacomatha. Ego the ime meno andras Athenei, ni tus the us ekinon me thein to megathiton pepragmenon ke pola tiafta oniro polin antignomi. Tin that eri mion ton coli sondon oronda ketis pepragmenis ep irmenon umendige maton thee uto proerista pratin ostitus an oitotatus ton porimin idene ti meli pien akinos an oitotiti gar eci logo piundas an athendes tafta ekina Idomen oti ekthros anthropos ketai materimas aposteri ke chronon polin ivrica ke apanthosa popota ilpisamen tina proxin iper imon kath imon evrita Ketali pa NFTs imin SD. Kan minin ethelemen eki polamin afto. En thada isos anagignos anakasthesomatha anakasthesomatha tutopin. Antaft idomen ke tatheonda asomatha egnokotes ke logon mateon ab iligmani ugar ata potesti the scopin alla oti favla ean mi pros hita to nun ke ta proseconda pied athelita Ev Ivana. For my own part, I have never yet chosen to court your favor by saying anything that I was not quite convinced would be to your advantage, and today, keeping back nothing, I have given free utterance to my plain sentiments. Yet, certain as I am that it is to your interest to receive the best advice, I could have wished that I were equally certain that to offer such advice is also to the interest of the speaker, for then I should have felt much happier. But as it is, in the uncertainty of what the result of my proposal may be for myself, yet in the conviction that it will be of your interest to adopt it, I have ventured to address it to you. Whatever shall be to the advantage of all, may that prevail. Ego men un, ut alata popata proscharin ilomin legin, o tianmi ke sinisien sinisin, pepismenos o, nin tha gignosko ponda alos Uthen ipos dilamenos, pe parisiasme, evulomin theon osper oti imin sim feri ta veltis tecuin eva. Utos ithenes sinizo keto ta veltista ipondi, pologar on ethion echon. Nin the ep avilis usitis apotuton amofton genisomanis homos epito sinisian signomi sin isin imi on praxita tafta pepista legin eruma Nikoi the aoti passin meli sin isin. And that is the end of the first Philippic by Demosthenes or Demosthenes in English. And thank you all for watching. Hopefully I will be able to come back in the future with the second Philippic and the third, and we can keep going from there. And one of the main sources that we have, I could say from an Athenian perspective, talking about Macedonians, is actually this speech from way back when. And it is interesting to note here in the first Philippic that Philip of Macedon is called a barbarian, Varvaros. And what is unique about this word choice, Varvaros, the Macedonians are Varvari, this was used to say he's not Greek. And even more so in the fourth Philippic, we will see Demosthenes declares that Philip of Macedon and the Macedonians are not Greek, neither related to the Greeks. So this is something that is very interesting because there's a very, I would say, widespread academic right now acceptance that the Macedonians today that have a Slavic language closely related to Serbian and Bulgarian are not actually related to the Macedonians way back when Demosthenes clearly says that they were Varvari. And to a Greek, the Slavic language would be considered barbarian. Now, is that what he was talking about? Was there another language somewhere between present-day Northern Macedonian and Greek? From just looking up some verb charts, one thing I can say is that the third person singular does not have the final T sound as in Russian. And so it is very similar grammar to Greek, where we have the ending without any final T. And so some of these Macedonian grammatical similarities between Greek and Macedonian make Macedonian closer to Greek than, let's say, to Russian. Now, you could say, oh my goodness, why would you say Macedonian is closer to Greek than Russian? It's not, okay? Most of the vocabulary, like kniga is a book, okay? I'm not going to say vivlos. This is kniga. Or knig. I don't know all the grammar, okay? Kniga. The language is Slavic, but a lot of the grammar in Macedonian is closer to, let's say, Greek, or at least it's different from Russian, even different from Bulgarian. So the question is this modern Macedonian a long-lasting descendant of an older form of Macedonian that Philip the Great and his son Alexander the Great spoke? That is the claim of the Macedonians, and I don't think that claim is an impossible claim, especially seeing that Demosthenes called Philip a barbarian, and at the very least, if he was speaking a dialect of Greek, even a Dorian dialect, would he really call him a barbarian? Again, we don't know for sure, and this is why the debate's even possible, because we do not have voice descriptions, video footage. You're going to laugh at me for saying that. We don't have video footage of King Philip the Great in his bedroom. Of course we don't. So how do we know what he sounded like? How do we know what he spoke? We have very few references to have an idea. And maybe he spoke something closer to Greek. Maybe it was something closer to present-day Macedonian. Maybe somewhere in between, or maybe it was something completely different, some Pannonian language or something we've just lost, okay? But the point of the matter is that it could have been Macedonian, the way Macedonian has derived today, being a long-lost child of that ancient Macedonian. It is a possibility, and I'm going to leave it there. So thank you guys for watching. That is the first Philippic, and I will see you again next time with the second Philippic.